Good morning, TK. Happy Wednesday. We're beginning today with our reading objective. Today we have two objectives because we are working on activity pages 5 and 6. So let's go over our two objectives so we can get started. Objective is what we are going to learn. Our first one is I can match shapes. So we're going to be seeing different shapes and making sure that we can tell which ones match each other. Today we're focusing on the shape of a triangle. So we're going to see different types of triangles and finding the ones that match. Our second objective is I can put events in order. So we're going to be looking at events. An event is something that happens. And think about when we're reading a story and we talk about what happened first, what happened next, and what happened last. We're going to be seeing kind of like little mini picture stories and figuring out what happened first, what happened next, and what happened last. So we're going to head down to the screen and get started. Make sure you have activity pages 5 and 6. You're also going to need a red crayon, a blue crayon, and a yellow crayon today. And you'll need scissors and glue. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, TK, here we are ready to work on activity page 5. Remember, for this page, our objective is to match shapes. So, on this side here, we're going to ignore this little white rectangle here. That's actually going to be something we need for activity page 6, so we can ignore it. We're going to look at our 3 shapes here. We see 3 shapes. What are these shapes? They're all the same shape. Even though they look kind of different, they're all the same shape. Which shape are they? Triangles, that's right, because they have 1, 2, 3 sides. 1, 2, 3 sides. 1, 2, 3 sides. 3 sides and 3 points. So, our job is to match the colored triangles to the white triangles over here. And we're going to be coloring the triangles that are not filled in, the color that they match. So right here we have a red triangle. This red triangle has a very specific shape, and one of these triangles matches that shape. We need to figure out which triangle matches it and also color that triangle red. So go ahead, pause right here, and color the triangle on the right side red that matches the red triangle. All right, did you figure out which triangle matched? It was the one on the bottom. That triangle matches this triangle. See, they both have a long diagonal line on the top to a pointy bottom at the end. So that one matched, so I colored it red. Let's do the same thing with our blue triangle here. Which one of these 2 triangles matches the same shape as this blue triangle? Which looks the same? Go ahead and color the one that matches the blue triangle blue. Did you figure it out? The triangle on top also is the same shape as our blue triangle, so I colored it blue. Now our last triangle here matches the yellow triangle. So we're going to color that triangle yellow. So go ahead and do that now. Nice job, guys. So even though these were all triangles, they all looked a little bit different. And we found which ones matched exactly. So all of them match in that they're all triangles, but we were able to figure out what types of triangles matched. Some of them were a little bit longer, a little bit smaller, a little bit taller. So good job finding the matches. Let's go ahead and move on to activity page 6. All right, TK, so here we are at activity page 6. And remember, our objective today is to put events in order. So just like in a story, our stories go in order. We can talk about what happened first, what happened next, and what happens last. Here, we're gonna look at some kind of mini stories here and try and think about what's going on and what would happen first, next, and last. So if you notice over here, you have some squares and they have dotted lines. You need to cut out these squares on the dotted lines. So go ahead, pause here, and take a second to cut out your squares on the dotted lines. All right, so I hope everyone has their squares cut out. I won't be able to cut mine out, but I'll be able to just kind of copy them and move them. You'll see when I do it. So we're gonna start up here with this picture in the top left-hand corner. It has a pink bottom down here. So when we're talking about events in this story, we're gonna look at the pictures that also have the pink on the bottom. So what do we see in this picture? What do we kind of see in it? I see a pie. And what kind of pie do you think it is? And how do you know? So we could guess that it's an apple pie because there's an apple right next to it. So right here, what do you notice about the apple pie? Is any of it eaten yet? Nope, none of it is eaten yet. We have a whole pie. Let's look at the other pictures that have the pink on the bottom. So I see two, one here and one here. Which do you think would happen next? First, we have a whole apple pie. Next, what might happen? Let's look at our two pictures. Next, somebody might take a bite. Now, are they going to eat the whole thing right away? Or might they just take one bite? They might start with just one bite. So I think that this is what would happen next. First, I have a whole apple pie. Next, I take a bite. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take that picture and I'm going to put it next. So you would cut it out and then put it right here next to our first apple pie. So now we have, first, I had a whole apple pie. Next, I took a bite. Last, what happens? I would eat more apple pie. Last, I ate more apple pie. So I'm going to take that picture and I'm going to put it over here to show that that is what happened last. So now I have my little story and I can tell my events that happened in order. First, I had a whole apple pie. Next, I ate some apple pie. Then I ate more apple pie. Or last, I ate more apple pie. So I was able to put my events in order and talk about what happens. Let's look at our next picture here. Now we're looking at the pictures that have blue on the bottom. What do we see in our first picture here? We see a little flower pot. It could be a plant. Does it have very many leaves yet? No, not yet. But maybe it's growing. So if it was a plant that was growing, what would happen next? Remember, we're going to be looking at the pictures with the blue on the bottom. So what do you think happened next? Next, it probably grew some flowers. But do you think it grew all of its flowers right away? Here it only has just one tiny little leaf and one little bud, one little flower bud. So right away, it probably didn't grow all the flowers, but maybe it grew two. So I'm going to take this picture here of some of the flowers growing, and that's going to be what happens next. So first, I had a plant. Next, it grew a flower. And then what happens last here? Last, lots of flowers were blooming. My plant grew so much. So I'm going to take that picture and put it into my last square. So first I had a plant. Then I had one little bloom. And last I had a big bloom of flowers. So you can see the plant is growing in order. Would it look right if I moved these around? Not really, because I went from just one little flower bloom to having so many, to having not that much. So that's why we know that the order shows that first it starts off with a little bit of flowers blooming, and then we can build up to more. Let's look at our last pictures here. We're looking at the ones with the orange on the bottom. What do we notice about this little boy here? What is he doing? He's blowing up a balloon. But he's starting with just a balloon that doesn't have any air in it yet. He still has to blow it up. So if he's just blowing some air into the balloon, what do you think is going to happen next? So we have two options here. We have a balloon with all of its air in it and a little string, or a balloon that has some air in it. Which one do you think happened next? Well, he just started to blow air into his balloon, so next he would have some air in it. So that is what I would put happened next. So we're gonna put this one right here, and remember, you're cutting and gluing these. So first, he started blowing up his balloon. Then his balloon had some air in it. What happened last? Last, his balloon was filled with air, and now he has a balloon. So I'm going to cut this one out, and that is going to be what happened last. Now he has his balloon. And that is how we put our little stories in order. So make sure that you are cutting these out, gluing them in the right spot, take a picture, and send it in to me. Great job, guys. I'll see you back here for handwriting and phonics.